So, welcome to Traveling with a Chair. This is Ken Edmonds. We're going to have a really interesting conversation talking about the value of insurance and the importance of insurance on when you book a trip. Do me a favor, there's going to be a poll pop up if you're watching this on the replay. And so if you just go ahead and you can hit the eye up above, you'll be able to complete that poll. Because just wanted a quick idea of how many people are actually booking insurance or buying insurance when they book their travel. I think that after you watch this that you may reconsider if you're not. So what we're going to look at is a couple of examples to start with of where people didn't book the where they didn't, and I apologize for some reason. There we go. They didn't book the, let's do this. There we go. Had to fix it so I show up in the video. Otherwise, you can't see me waving my hands like a wild person. Anyway, we're going to talk about the reason for purchasing travel insurance, and we'll start. We're going to look at a couple of examples. There's this example I found online today where it talked about a couple that were on a cruise. And one of the women that started having stomach pains, and her stomach hurt bad enough that the doctor on the cruise ship thought that she should go ahead and have, see a shore-based doctor. He thought it was well outside of the scope of what he could deal with on board. So they went to the hospital there, and they were in the Bahamas. And notice I highlighted this area. You can see it there. And what it says is that they ran into some severe financial problems. They had to get friends to wire them money so that this hospital would even see her. They had to come up with $2,000 cash up front or they weren't going to see her. And then they had to get another $750 to get a CT scan done. Now, so after they took care of the medical emergency, things got worse. Because what they had to do then is they actually had to deal with getting back. And they didn't have passports with them. They were traveling with a birth certificate. So it became a real problem for them. And those are an example of the kinds of things that medical insurance would have helped, good travel insurance would have helped with. And here's another example of something very similar. This was a couple that were in Costa Maya. The lady had a bleeding ulcer. Her blood count was going down. They're actually on the ship in visiting Costa Maya. And the doctor on the ship didn't have the ability to give her a blood transfusion and told her that they basically had to get off the ship and she needed to go get medical care. So if you read the whole article, what happens, and this was a 79-year-old woman, to put it in perspective. So this lady is 79 years old. The doctor on the ship was worried about her bleeding out. He wanted her to go to the hospital, so they had to get off of the ship. So they're in Costa Maya. Now, the cruise line did help them out in the sense that they helped them make an arrangement to get to the nearest airport in Cancun. But it was a 5-hour cab ride. And they had to pay for it. And then they had to buy their own plane ticket home from Cancun to New Jersey. So this couple wound up being out of pocket. Let me find the number again. But I want to say it was on the order of $4,000. Yeah, it was almost $4,000 to get home. It took 24 hours. So that's a lot of money for somebody to have to come up with when they get pushed off of a cruise ship, and I say pushed off, but when they have a medical situation such that they're not capable of staying on the cruise ship. The medical team assesses that they need to go to the doctor or to the hospital. Now, in Royal Caribbean's defense, they recommended that she go to the hospital in Costa Maya or Cancun, so that she could get care sooner than go home. But they didn't feel comfortable with the language. They didn't feel comfortable with the medical care, so they wanted to get home. And if the ship's doctor's assessment had been correct, she might have died en route because of the length of time and what was the ordeal that was involved in getting home. So the question is, of course, what do we do to fix that? And the answer to that is that we can start to put this down. We'll look at some examples of insurance and how insurance, and when you should think about buying insurance, I guess is the best way of saying it. So the first point that I make in this decision tree, and if you'd like a copy of this decision tree, leave me a comment and I'll get together with you and find a way. Actually, probably the easiest thing, just go to my website, travelingwithachair.com. That's where my blog is hosted, and there'll be a form there where you can sign up with your email address, and I'll send you a copy of this decision tree. There'll be some other pieces that I'm working on associated with this that I'll include as well. But to work through this tree, if you're traveling to an area where you are not going to have medical coverage, either the host nations or personal insurance. And the reason I say host nations is there are countries where medical care is free, even for tourists. So if you're going to be in a country like that, then it's possible that insurance is not necessary. Or your personal policy may cover you in foreign countries. That's a possibility as well. Now, I'm on Medicare. Medicare doesn't work outside the United States. My particular plan with Medicare is actually very narrowly limited to about 5 counties. What I will say is that then I'm just out of network, and they provide some coverage, but my price goes up quite a bit. So if you're traveling where you're not going to have medical coverage, then I really recommend that you get insurance. If that doesn't apply, the next question that you want to think about is, are you traveling to an area where you're going to be uncomfortable with either the available medical care or with the language? In other words, if you're not going to be able to communicate with the doctor effectively, and you're not sure about the quality of medical care in the country you're visiting, and this doesn't have to be on a cruise. We're going to talk specifically about a cruise in a little bit. These are just general travel examples. Then I recommend the insurance. One of the things that most travel insurance companies have is a medical concierge, which will help you deal with the local country or with getting you back home. But they'll start to give you some assistance immediately, and so it's a strong recommendation again that you get medical insurance. The third question in this tree to think about is, are you traveling to an area that you cannot afford to buy a ticket back home on short notice? Because sometimes things happen at home. And for example, in doing some research for this video, what I found a case, there was a couple that had just started an around-the-world cruise, and I don't remember exactly how long, but they had paid on the order of $15,000 for this cruise. And one of their parents was diagnosed with a terminal and a very short-term terminal illness. And so they had to abandon their cruise and fly from where they were back home. So that was a very expensive process, and they had to pay the money up front, but their travel insurance reimbursed them for the plane ticket to get back home, and it also reimbursed them for the remaining value of the cruise, which is considerable. So again, that was a very good investment on their part to have travel insurance. So this next one deals specifically with a cruise. So if you're on a cruise ship, and a good example is this poor woman that was in Costa Maya. If you have to leave the ship, would the cost of getting home be an issue for you? Is that something you could afford? If you have more money than you know what to do with, maybe it's not an issue. But for most of us, it would be an issue if we get in a situation like that. So the question is, if it's going to be an issue for you, then I strongly, again, recommend that you buy travel insurance. This last piece, next question I should say, is not really the last question, but is if you're making a trip, is the trip important enough that you need to buy a ticket if something happens to the flight that you're scheduled on? So let's say that you're on a flight that gets canceled and the airline can't rebook you, and the only thing that's available is you have to pay for a first class ticket on another airline. Is that trip so important that you might have to do that? Then again, this is where travel insurance comes into play. It might be that you're going to a friend's wedding, and you don't want to miss it for anything. Maybe you're the best man or the bridesmaid or maid of honor at the wedding. You need to be there, so you're going to do whatever it takes to get there. Travel insurance would be strongly recommended again. The last one, a decision piece of this tree, is if you lost the value of the ticket, would it be a hardship for your family? So have you spent so much on that ticket and the travel plans associated with it that's money that that's irreplaceable or not easily replaced? The answer to that question is yes. Again, I strongly recommend the travel insurance. If you bought a $100 round trip ticket to Vegas and you're just going out for a couple of days because you had a long weekend and some money in your pocket, maybe you don't need travel insurance. Maybe it's not worth the investment in that situation. But in most of these situations, my recommendation is that you take a hard look at getting travel insurance. Typically, the cost of travel insurance is not enough. It's not expensive, so expensive that it's difficult to afford. And the downside of not having it could be very, very difficult. It could be life-threatening if you don't get it. So, and those are the factors in the process I would use to make a decision on whether or not I was going to buy travel insurance. Now, you'll notice that in this discussion, I didn't get into travel insurance, where to buy it, what kind to buy. I didn't look at travel insurance that you might have on a credit card. We're going to do all of that in other videos. But I just wanted to go through the process of making a decision. Should I or shouldn't I? Again, if you'd like a copy of this, decision tree, please go to my website, travelingwithachair.com, and fill out the form there. And I will make sure you get a copy of this decision tree. And I'll have some other free information that I'll share as well from future videos, because I will do a video on what kind of travel insurance to buy, and I can make sure you get that as well if you'd like it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do so. I would really appreciate it. Also, in the event that if you like this video, please go ahead and hit the like button down below. I'd really appreciate it. And I'm going to check real quickly to see if we have any comments on the video or questions. If you do have questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat box. Also, do me a favor and go ahead and smash the like button. Let me know if you like it. And even if you're watching this on the replay, and it will be up for replay, in that event, go ahead and put your comments in, because I'll be coming back to look at these comments, and that way I can get a chance to answer any questions that you might have. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.